6:30. And the first item of the call to order is done, and the second item is disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Mr. Chair, we have one disclosure of pecuniary interest, Deputy Mayor Mike Volchi, pertaining to the Public Works Agenda, item 4.4.2, and they are check numbers 22691 and 22797 as they pertain to a family member.
Okay. And if you have any during the course of the meeting, you can speak out. Item number 3 is the Community Service Section 3.1, Deputations, Petitions, Presentations, and Public Meetings. There's none. Item 3.2, Unfinished Business, Signed Bylaw Review, December 2017 update with draft bylaw, March 2018, and the Lions Club licensing fee review for the fall of 2018. 3.3, other agency reports, Fire Department monthly report. Chief?
Good morning.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. The fire department responded to 133 calls during the month of June. As you can see in the spreadsheet, our MVCs, motor vehicle collisions, were increased about triple what the other months were, just due to high volume of traffic. We did have a second gas line incident on River Road West that closed that road for another 10 hours. The first one was 12 hours. Hopefully we don't see that again. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is the fire danger rating is currently at high. We're one of the last communities to go to extreme and go to a fire ban just because of our, we're the lowest part of the watershed, and our moisture content is usually higher. We don't have open fields like some of the rural communities. So we're going to get through this weekend for sure, and then we'll have to reassess on Monday and decide whether we need to put a ban in place. So, but for right now, we're high, and things are okay. That's all I have for today, sir.
Any questions of the chief? If not, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the motion, please? I have misplaced my glasses, so I'm going to be relying on the clerk to read reading things. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moved by Councillor Bray, seconded by Councillor Smith. Resolved that the Community Services Section of Coordinated Committee received the July 2018 Fire Department report for information. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Mike Volchi.
In favor.
Councillor Bray.
In favor.
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor.
Chair Stockwell.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
And the next item then is the 3.4 consent agenda. Was there anything held, clerk?
I'm not aware of anything being held.
Yeah, it's in the agenda there.
Sorry, pardon, sorry, Chair, we do have an item here. There is an item 3.42, departmental accounts has been held.
And who held that?
That was the deputy mayor.
Deputy, the floor is yours.
I think we're supposed to pass the motion first.
Deal with the consent agenda first. Then
So we'll call the vote on the consent agenda.
there's another request.
Just before we do, there wasn't a library board report on here for me to pull, but I just had a question. I had heard that there was going to be a funding announcement today from a local business, and I just wondered if anybody had any details.
Well, I certainly have no information on that.
I can speak to that if you like. I have for some time been working on a library fundraiser. The CEO and the librarian are quite aware of that, and there is an announcement of a title sponsor today for the event, and that event was already in the newspaper previously. This is just adding a title sponsor to the event. So.
And they'll be planning an announcement today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Did that answer your
there's
question?
no expectation for council to be there?
No, not really.
Okay.
Coun-
I just, as
council
a member of
wasn't
the library
involved.
board, I wasn't aware, so that's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Ms. Karen, therein be adopted as amended. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Mayor
In
Bolchi,
favor?
Councillor Bray,
In favor?
Councillor Ego,
In favor?
Councillor Smith,
In favor.
Mayor Smith,
In favor?
Chair Stockwell.
In favor?
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you. So the one item that's pulled is
3.4.2 departmental accounts.
Deputy Mayor, floor is yours.
Thank you. Just a question with regard to under tourism events, 22829 for rooms cabins. It's for accommodation for $4,800. And I'm just curious what that was for.
Chris, can you help with that?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me here, but I do know that this cabin over in New Wasaga beach area is the one where we've typically housed the sandcastle builders. And I presume there were 2 or 3 nights with a number of different these artists. I think there were 5 or 6 of them. So I can look back for the exact detail on that, but off the top of my head,
So that would have been part of, I guess, a budget for that event, and I guess it went through the Beachfront Management Board?
correct. The Memories of Summer, the Waterfront Festival in mid-June. On that weekend, we had the Sandcastle building along the main end.
Okay, thank you.
And the money's there in the budget.
Correct, yes, that was, yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Other questions? Okay, so moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Bray. Resolved that departmental accounts for the month of May and June 2018 as reviewed by the Community Services Section of Coordinated Committee are hereby confirmed. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Bolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor?
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Chair Stockwell.
Favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed. That's it. Just a brief recess.
We'll call for a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess for the next item.
Meeting back to order. This is the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. We have no deputations, petitions, presentations, or public meetings today. Under unfinished business, there is one item, if anyone wants to discuss that. Other agency reports, we have none. Just as a reminder of my pecuniary interest that was previously declared in the accounts. Other than that, we will go to the consent agenda. It's moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Belanger. Be it resolved that the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee does hereby receive the July 19th, 2018 consent agenda items 4.4.1 through to 4.4.3, and that all the recommendations contained therein be adopted. I don't believe anything's been pulled, unless there's something now. Okay.
Thank you. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Eagle.
In favor?
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
Favor.
Chair by Fulci.
In favor?
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
With that, we'll take a 2-minute break until the next recording
minutes.
secretary comes in.
and I think we will get this, call the meeting back to order. Before we start, I believe I would like to introduce our new senior planner, if the council hasn't met him already, Alan Lee. Doug, did you want to say anything?
So we're very, very happy to have Alan with us. He comes to us from the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, so he's very familiar with high growth, quick turnaround, lots of applications. And Alan, we've been here for a week and a half, and he's already looking at ways to improve some of the functions of the planning department, stuff that he's bringing in from Bradford, West Gwillimbury, some computer programs to help us with doing our reviews. And we've already spoken to IT about it. And Alan's already taking on some of the major files that we've got on the go. And it's been he's already showing us a huge help. So I very much appreciate what the committee has done for us.
Thank you, Doug. Welcome.
Welcome, Alan.
Welcome. So, carry on the agenda, deputations, petitions, presentations of public meetings. We have one by Isabella D'Angelo. Yes.
So my name is Rosalba D'Angelo, and I would like to say thank you to the mayor and the chair and the members of council here today and the committee, if anybody's around. And thank you for allowing me the privilege. I'm actually feeling very humbled to speak in front of you today, so I appreciate that. A little bit nervous. So today, the purpose of my deputation today is to provide council and town staff with information pertaining to Section 3, as well as recommendations in relation to accessory buildings with general provisions of current zoning and building bylaws. My concerns are directed particularly to constructing a multi-level children's playhouse that is excluded and unregulated under Section 3, which includes accessory building under a 10 by 10, where no permit is required. This would exclude the multi-level playhouse that I'm speaking of. So I've read the definition of accessory building, and there is no clarification regulating a multi-level children's playhouse that exceeds height restrictions and limitations in a residential area in our community improvement plan. So these plywood multi-level playhouse buildings appear to be exempt from your zoning and building provisions, where necessary amendments to height restrictions and limitations must be included in an accessory building in order to be in compliance with your zoning and building bylaws. So I've seen multi-level playhouses with stairs, balcony, storage space, roundabout, slide, where no permit or approval or variance is required, under the Municipal Act. There are more instances of multi-level playhouses that exceeds height restrictions and limitations of accessory building in our town of Wasaga Beach. These accessory buildings relating to multi-level playhouses causes, in my opinion, significant harm to the character and appearance of our residential area. These multi-level playhouses are invasive, causing significant privacy concern of your entire backyard, and gardens and bedroom windows being overshadowed, even overlooking a 6-foot fence. I value my privacy and wouldn't want my home to be overlooked with regard to visual privacy or aesthetics. These multi-level playhouses are becoming a nuisance and must be considered as an unauthorized development, which may also breach title conditions of resale homes. So my recommendation would be to submit change or amendments to zoning and building provisions to regulate height restrictions and limitations to 1-story playhouse and limit accessory buildings on residential properties. Please consider my recommendations for the purpose of clarification to conform to current zoning and building bylaws. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today, I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions around the table? Councilor Bray?
Yeah, just, actually, no, I guess my question was for staff, not for deputy.
Do you want?
Can I
Yeah.
speak through you to Doug? So right now is the only bylaw or zoning we have in place for sheds, which would be the 10 by 10.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Ms. D'Angelo's comment is quite right. The play structures are currently not regulated under the current zoning bylaw. Staff have looked into it, and our bylaw dates to 2003, and it's designed for a municipality that was far more rural suburbia at that time. As we grow and as we intensify, and particularly as we secure a high school, we expect to have more families. So going forward, it's an aspect of intensification that is something that we can look at in our upcoming new zoning bylaw. Currently, we're working on updating the official plan. We hope to have a copy in front of committee and in front of a public meeting in the fall or the new year, and then followed on quickly by the creation of a new comprehensive zoning bylaw. And this is the type of thing that staff intend to look at. Ms. D'Angelo's comment is quite right about impact on neighbors. And what we would hope to do is investigate what other municipalities do, particularly more GTA municipalities who have these impacts, and how have they treated them in their bylaw. And as always, it's always a balance of enjoyment of your own property versus what impact does that cause on the neighbor's property. So that's the specifics that we would look at in the new zoning bylaw within the next year and a half or so.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the table? No? I guess I have a resolution here, if I may. I have a resolution that's moved by Councillor Eagle and seconded by Councillor Belanger. Resolved that the Development Services Section of Coordinated Committee receives a deputation from Roosevelt D'Angelo and further refers this item to staff for further review and a report back to a future meeting. Call for the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
In favor.
Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Chair Smith.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on in the agenda, unfinished business, we have none. Other agency reports, we have none. Consent agenda, we had a couple of items pulled. And I guess, did anyone else have anything they want to pull at this time? So I'll tell you what the pulled items are. The Ainley project status report dated July 6th, I pulled that. And accounts, and that's in general. So I just pulled the Ainley project status report for discussion. So we'll have a motion, a move by Councillor Eagle, seconded by Councillor Belanger. Resolved that the Development Services Section of Coordinated Committee hereby receives the July 19, 2018 consent agenda items 5.1 through to 5.4.3, and that all the recommendations contained therein be adopted as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
In favor.
Chair Smith.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
I pulled first through the Engineering Technologies Department project status report. And I just, a question for Doug, if I may, is it just struck me that there was a consultation meeting on July 10th to discuss a proposal to construct a burial amusement park. And I just wondered if you had any information on that you could share with us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a pre-consultation a week and a half ago, and it was for a proposal at, I believe it's 35 Mosley, which is currently mostly a parking lot, and it's right across the street from the town parking lot on Mosley Street. And the proposal is for to install an aerial challenge course. Those are my words. And essentially, it's piers with staged decks, and it would have a climbing wall. It would have, I believe, zip lines, and then a challenge course where there are different methods to walk around. It's right at the Beach Area 1 area. The discussion with the applicant was what would it take for a complete application. In this case, we feel that it's a site plan issue, and we're in the process right now of putting together the minutes of that meeting and sending them out to the applicant so that they can prepare a complete submission for site plan.
Thank you. I guess you'll keep us appraised of that as it goes along. Bring us up to date on that. Sounds very exciting. Is that for year-round or just?
I suspect it would be more of a seasonal operation to capture the spring, summer, and fall.
Thank you. And that was all I had. So, thank you, Doug. My question. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stockwell, seconded by Councillor Belanger. Resolved that the Development Services Section and Coordinated Committee receives the Public Works Engineering Project Status Report dated July 11, 2018 for information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
Favor.
Chair Smith.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
So there being no further business in the Development Services section, we'll take a brief recess and come back with our
Okay, we'll call this general government section of the meeting back to order. Again, as previously indicated, I have no pecuniary interest at this time. If one should arise during the course of the meeting, please let me know. Deputations, petitions, and presentations, we have one. We have with us Mr. Ryan de Cordova with his partner, and they would come to the table. Will be in attendance to request permission from committee to locate 3 accessible porta potties at the property for his business so that he is eligible for a liquor license.
How you doing?
Welcome, and
Thank you all for letting me speak. I've been in Wasaga for the last year researching this property. I had other plans of developing it, and then in the interim I wanted to create an atmosphere conducive to, the 30 to 40 plus range. I found that a lot of adults with kids didn't really feel comfortable going to like South Beach or Bananas, so I wanted to make a nice, comfortable place for them to go. During the course of the year, I mostly did my dealings with Barry Vickers, and he said that the porta potties were a little bit, untasteful. So he suggested I went to mobile trailers. So I had no disagreement with him, and with future plans of building washrooms inside the current shed that's there right now. During that year, I ended up getting divorced and caught a vicious bout of pneumonia a week or two before May 2-4 weekend, and plans got shifted a little bit. I wasn't going to execute the porta potties, obviously, until the week prior to the May 2-4 weekend, because no point in paying for them if I wasn't going to use them yet. And on that date, technically, I was directed to zoning, to Mr. Doug. And he told me that was going to be not happening, right? So all year long, I went through the beachfront committee, and they approved the washrooms and whatnot. I have paperwork to that effect, and I just assumed I was going into business. I've been in business now there for the last month, and I've made maybe $600. I've invested about $60,000 into this dream of mine, and what I'm here today to ask you is for me to be able to salvage the rest of the summer with a temporary solution with the 3 porta potties. I hired Lloyd Hunt to do the drawings. It's sitting in the building permits office right now. It's ready for approval. My landlord wants an additional $20,000. So I said, okay, well, let me just make it this year, and then we'll do construction next year. So my ask is of you is if I can just operate with the 3 porta potties for the rest of the season, fund the construction, and then you'll never see it again. But I mean, my whole life is dependent on this, because this was after my divorce. I'm not sure if anyone's been divorced, but it suddenly cleaned me out a little bit. So this was this was my last $60,000, right? So if I lose this last $60,000, I have 2 sons to feed that are 6 and 8 and take 3 different martial arts and gymnastics, and pretty much will be the end of me if I don't get this business up and running. I can try and I've spoke to my AGCO contact. He said he can have a license in place within 7 days, because via law, fire, zone, all the other departments have signed off, and the applications are already sitting on their desks. And pretty much the last is just the occupancy load. I was initially told by my landlord that the 2 washrooms are there could allow a 40 people capacity. I'm not particular about 40 people or 100. I don't care which one it is or if it's in between. I just need to start selling something so I can recoup my money.
okay, well, thank you. Is there any questions or comments?
Just a question.
Councilor Bray, and then Mayor Smith.
Yeah, you had mentioned it's going to take 7 days, and I'm just wondering if there's anything we could do to get it done prior to this weekend. If we, are you ready to go if you got those approvals quicker?
Oh yes. But I guess technically what I would have to do is get a special permit, a special occasions permit from friends that are in the same business, and then I could probably get something hopefully this weekend as well. But I'm not greedy. As long as I can get it within 7 days and I can start operating under my own license, I'm happy just as well, right? Because there's still a lot of weekends available. And previously I owned the second biggest nightclub in Toronto that I retired from 4 years ago, so I have lots of contacts to bring in acts and whatnot. So I think I could be able to do a catch-up. And then my liquor license permitted me to extend my property line throughout Nick's through his parking lot for 4 events. Obviously, I'll only have one or two events left of that, but I should be able to get something going where I can regenerate and get this thing up and going. I've tried to be a good community member. I give out free popcorn to the kids on the movie nights. I do anything I did. I tried to. I brought 10% owner of Macau Palace, or Wind Palace in Macau, here for the regeneration of Wasaga Beach to negotiate building a school here from Asia to students. I set that meeting up with, I believe it was Andrews from Economic Development. I know that, I think, I was told later, because I was meeting with lawyers for my divorce, that I guess he got outbid by Fram or something, but I don't know. I never, to be honest, I didn't really follow up. I just figured it didn't go, right? But Wasaga is where I want to call home. I mean, I bought my first house in Collingwood, and I ended up on the rocks on the water, and when I saw the sand, I knew this is where I wanted to be, right? So I just want to get this up and running, and then I can be happy. The new drawings that are in the building permits, the top part there where you see they're going to build two doors and 2 more additional washrooms, and then a staff washroom on the inside. We have facilities for staff parking on the outside, and I'm pretty much, I mean, I'm open to any suggestions that can help me get back to the path of profitability.
Okay, thank you. I'll take Mayor Smith, your comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So I'm seeing, are these couches or Chesterfields?
On the left side?
Yes.
Yes, I bought those sofas from Home Hardware. You know, the nice tan ones with the red
nice
furniture and put.
So, Mr. Chair, I can understand where maybe staff are coming from with respect to porta potties. However, I think we're looking at this as a temporary situation for the remainder of this year, as the gentleman has indicated. We have other situations all over our town where we use porta potties, including in our public parking lots and so on and so forth. So as long as, are they going to be closed in somehow or sheltered or fenced?
I can do anything you like. I mean, I'm up to whatever you suggest. I can do it.
So I think if it's done right, Mr. Chair, and I have no reason to doubt why this gentleman wouldn't do it right, listening to what he's had to say thus far, I have no issue with it. As a matter of fact, I would support it. I think it's another business open on our beachfront, and I wish him all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Very good. So I think at this point we just accept the deputation for information, and then is this, are we approving anything at this point, or are we bringing it back to staff?
Mr. Chair, there's a closed session portion of the meeting right after the open session where this item is going to be, it's on the agenda for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to me. Do I stay or leave?
You want to stay for now?
Oh.
Okay, we'll now move to the consent agenda, and at this point there has only been 2 items pulled, 6.4.2 accounts by Deputy Mayor, both A and B. So moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Mayor Smith, resolved that General Government Sectional Coordinating Committee hereby receives the July 19th, 2018 consent agenda items 6.4.1 through 6.4.3, and that the recommendations contained therein be adopted as amended.
Mr. Chair, having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor White-Volchey.
In favor?
Councillor Eagle.
In favor?
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
Favor.
Chair Belanger.
In favor.
Thank you. Boulanger, members of Coordinating Committee, I'd like to introduce Sandy Thurston, who is in the audience today. Sandy has been working with us. Sandy's right there. She's been working with us, helping us with the after-hours clinic, establishing the after-hours clinic. She's doing a lot of the background legwork in terms of the agreements, getting the agreements together, following up with the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center, dealing with the lawyers in terms of getting their opinions on the agreements, et cetera, et cetera. So she's been invaluable to us in terms of helping move the after-hours clinic along, and I just wanted to introduce her to the coordinating committee so that you know, when you see her name, you know the face. So thank you very much, Sandy, for the work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll now go to council item 6.4.2, which were pulled by Deputy Mayor. So the first was recommendation that the May 1st to 31st, 2018 accounts reviewed by General Government Service Section of Coordinated Committee are hereby confirmed. So.
Thank you. Just a question with regard to EFT 10444. It's to FORAC Community Hub, $102,170. And I'm just curious, what is that for? Are we almost at a point of being done paying?
Through the chair. In 2017, council approved hiring FORAC to undertake a public needs assessment for the community hub. As you know, staff have been working quite closely with the province over the past few years to try and position a lot of the projects that we are working on for potential partnership funding dollars. In discussions with the Community Hubs Division at the provincial level, they indicated to us that if the municipality would like to try and position its projects, arena, library, potential cultural center, and other health and human services that might make up a community hub, the first step is undertaking a public needs assessment, and they will not consider a municipality for one-third funding without taking that step. So in 2017, council approved moving forward with FORAC to help us with that work. That also included work with CBRE. It was a split contract for laying out conceptual design for the location of the hub, making sure that it would fit on the lands that the council has currently directed staff to explore, and as well it looked at the economic impact analysis and the financials that can help inform council's coming decisions. So that's what that work was. The funding was in 2017. The contract was not completed by the end of year end, so we had requested that the money carry over to 2018. As you will recall, public meeting was held in February of 2018. That concluded the contract. The final bills were paid shortly thereafter. Because of the computer shutdown, they're just showing up on the register now. But if you look at the date, I believe they were processed in May. So the final invoice has been paid.
Okay, and that's what I was looking for on that one. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a resolution for this one. So moved by Mayor Smith and seconded by Councillor Smith, resolved that the May 1st to 31st, 2018 accounts as reviewed by General Government Services Section of Coordinated Committee are hereby confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Bolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Councillor Smith.
In favor?
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
In favor.
Chair Boulanger.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
The final item pulled was accounts 6.4.2B, recommendation that the June 1st to 30th, 2018 accounts as reviewed by General Government Services Section of Coordinated Committee are hereby confirmed. And again,
Yeah, thank you. That is EFT 10579 to Andrew Thompson and Associates. It's for 140 Main Street, and it says appraisal, and it says $6,107. And I'm just curious, is that what that appraisal cost us for that property? And because we don't own it, were we able to get inside the building? What's this amount for?
So through the chair, that appraisal was undertaken by the town solicitors, Aaron Burles, contracted Andrew Thompson. That is deliberately, it is done by a third party legal counsel. That appraisal is not disclosed until later on in the process. But so that was an independent appraisal undertaken by Aaron Burles for the process of negotiations with 140 Main.
Okay, so but at the end of the day, it cost the town $6,100 for that.
That's correct.
And do we know if they were able to actually get inside the building?
My understanding is that they were not let inside the building. There were attempts and requests made to enter the building, but I believe that was not allowed. So some assumptions were made about the interior of the building.
Okay.
I don't believe that dramatically impacted the appraisal value.
I just, $6,100 just seemed like a lot to me for one property. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to that, with respect to the appraisal, there's a real estate appraisal that's used to determine value for property, and then there's a real estate appraisal that's done in an expropriation matter. And although they're both real estate appraisals, the ones that are done for expropriation matters are more expensive and more involved than a typical real estate appraisal. I know that from just having dealt with those over the years, and that may be a contributing factor with respect to the cost, that they're just a more detailed, more involved, because they may need to be used further on in an expropriation process.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Then I have a motion and moved by Councillor Ego and seconded by Councillor Smith. Resolved that June 1st to 30th, 2018 accounts as reviewed by General Government Service Section of Coordinated Committee are hereby confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Ray.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Mike Bolche.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor?
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
In favor.
Chair Belanger.
In favor?
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
So now we go into committee. Okay, so the next motion is moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Deputy Mayor Folchi. Resolved that pursuant to Section 239C of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the Coordinated Committee meeting of July 19, 2018 be closed to the public to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having heard the question, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Ray.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Folchi.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor?
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Councillor Stockwell.
In favor.
Chair Belanger.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed. Thank you.
Okay, we'll allow a couple minutes for the public to